Hello, everyone. This is your girl, Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am back with another podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about love, love languages, the role of love from Mr. Paul. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Paul Zolman. I am the founder of the Role of Love, and it's a new way to express love and look for opportunities to love every day.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Sure. I was brought up in a family. I'm number 10 of 11 children, but I want to talk a little bit about my grandfather because I think that this thing that passes from generation to generation, whatever our parents learned, they taught us. And it goes down from generation to generation. So my grandfather was born in Indiana, and in Indiana he married and had 9 children. After that ninth child, his wife suddenly passed away. Don't know what exactly caused that passing away, but he was distraught, as anybody would be having their spouse pass away. When you're distraught and you're not supposed to make any major decisions, and I don't think he knew that at that time because he made some definitely major decisions. He decided to sell the farm, sell all the equipment, and I talked to one of those children later in his late years, and he said that was something like this. He said, "And would you like this child? And would you like this child? And would you like this child?" When the people came to pick up their equipment, all the children he had given all the children away, except for one. And then he moved to Montana, and he found a school teacher that had never been married, married her, had 10 more children, of which my father's number 6. When my father was born in 1922, so when he's 10 years old in 1932, this grandfather passes away. So now you have 19 abandoned children. 19. And it's in the middle of the depression. It's the middle of the Great Depression. So there's economic issues. There's problems with trying to go to school. My father was at being 10 years old. He went to school a few more years, and they graduated from 8th grade. But that's all the schooling he had. Not There's not many jobs that will do except 8th grade education. So he became a truck driver, diesel mechanic and truck driver. And as I'm growing up, he's a truck driver and is gone during the week. He comes home every Friday night and dates my mother. I loved that part about my father. He never missed. I don't know a single day that, or a single Friday that he missed having a date with my mother. But he wasn't very creative about it. It was always at the Maverick Bar, and it was always over alcohol. And I can imagine my mother and father meeting after that time apart, saying, "Well, how was your week? How was your week?" And my mother starting possibly at the oldest child. And the oldest child, most of them were boys. I'm the thorn between two roses. That I have an older sister and a younger sister. All the rest are boys. And so boys will be boys. They're like puppies, Donna. They just swat at each other and they roll around and they wrestle and they do that sort of thing that puppies do. Boys were boys, and they'd be breaking arms and doing roughhouse stuff. And my father's getting annoyed. He's getting annoyed. He's getting annoyed. He's getting annoyed. By the time that my mother's to number 10, he's ready to blow. And so I feel like I get the wrath of that. It's either the belt or it's a severe spanking. One time I remember being spanked so severely that I was black and blue on my rear end for more than 3 weeks. It was that rough. So that type of situation, you want to just get out of there as soon as possible. So after my junior year of high school, I had a car. I moved in with my brother. My brother was a father, had a couple of children at the time, and he was just a very, very good father, but he had the same problem. He'd be annoyed, 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 and then he'd flash. You never know when that flash is going to happen. So I realized that after I got married and had started having children, I was doing the same thing. And it was just one of those generational things. I wanted to get rid of it. And I still had a lot of leftover anger, residual anger from my own childhood about my father. I was blaming him for all these social awkward situations where I'd be annoyed, annoyed, annoyed in public and then flash. And then It's like repels your children, repels everybody around you. Nobody wants to know you at that particular time. And
Right.
it's just a bad situation like that. So I found myself in that situation, at age 35. I just was blaming him. Well, he had been dead for 7 years. I'm blaming a dead guy for my stuff. And I thought, I got to stop that. I got to start taking responsibility for myself. So I thought in my negative or in a that angry culture, most things that come out of your mouth will be negative. So that's what came out of my mouth. I said, I don't want to be angry. It's kind of like a double negative. Only works multiplying two negative numbers together to get something positive. It doesn't work in relationships, Donna. It absolutely doesn't work. So it wasn't working for me either. So what I was trying to do is just be better. And, just these flashes, everything really were contributory to the demise of my first marriage. Now, generationally, my grandfather had 19 children. My father had 11. I only had 8, Donna, only 8. And my children are only having 3. I don't get it. I want more children. I want more grandchildren. So
Only 8, huh?
I only had 8 children. That's right. So so when my wife and I divorced, there's 5 left in the house. So I have primary custody of these 5 children, and my ex-wife is on her weekends for having the children. I'd already made arrangements to go have what I call a destination date. Somebody in a different city, I'm in the different city. We decide on a city, we meet, we have a date, go back home. And so I was doing that for about a year and a half and was traveling all over the place. Went to Daytona Beach, Florida, and Jacksonville, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Nashville, Kansas City, New York City, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Cabo San Lucas, a lot of places that I went for a date. And it was just absolutely fun. It's like I was having this midlife crisis, having the time of my life. I wasn't finding any love. It's like that song, Donna. I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. It just wasn't happening for me. So what I thought I had a line on someone. I moved to Phoenix. It actually didn't turn out. So here I am in Phoenix. My sister gives me a call, thinks I'm lonely. Probably I am, but I'm denying everything, and just having that denial, my own little pity party. She says, "I've got a neighbor that I want to introduce to you." And my sister was living 7 hours away at the time. I said, I'm done destination dating. I'm not doing this again. And she's older sister, and I'm number 10 of 11, so you have to do what older siblings say. She says, oh, come on. So I said, okay, I'll email her. What kind of relationship can you develop in email? Well, I liked the writing. This person was a really good writer. And I got my bravery up and I asked, well, how many times have you been married? This is all in writing. And she writes back and says, counting the 5 that are buried in the backyard. And I thought, I got a live wire here. I got somebody who's got a sense of humor. I got somebody that really has some personality here. This might be worth pursuing. So we started to get a little bit closer. Then I start going up to visit her, and then I ended up moving up there. We came very close, and it became more serious about getting married. Before we did that, though, I took her up to my brother's house, 300 miles north. And first thing that happened, we go in. My sister-in-law pulls her aside and says, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I said, denied it. Then it made me mad. I thought, she's right. We really were kind of a mad bunch. But from an outsider looking in, I thought, well, maybe there's other outsiders see that. I thought, right here and now is the time to change that perception. So I decided I'm going to read the color code. I'm going to read the 5 love languages and try to develop more of a loving attitude. Stop all that anger. Stop it now and quit passing it on from generation to generation. Quit it all. And so I liked the 5 love languages because Dr. Chapman was a reverend or pastor, and he said that those 5 love languages help you become closer to Christ, because Christ did all these things during his lifetime. I'm a Christian, and so I was believing that, liking that concept. but I didn't get his application. He said, Donna, if I guess what love language you are and I cater to that, we're going to be buddies. I'm a really bad guesser. It's not going to be happening. The second thing that Dr. Chapman says is that, well, if I take this survey, then I can find out what my love language is. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Advertise? Hello, Donna. I'm Gifts. What do you have for me today? I mean, just that's so awkward. I'm done with awkward. Remember, I already had awkward before. I'm not doing that anymore. So I thought, well, when I was a little, I liked playing games with my family. I thought it brought our family together to play games. So I thought, even though there was still a smack talk, there was still a put downs, there was still all that competitiveness, playing games together was just kind of a fun thing to do. So I contacted Dr. Chapman, said, Dr. Chapman, are you licensing those little icons for the love languages? And his attorney wrote back and said, no, we're not doing that right now. Well, thankfully, I was grateful. They were kind of dated. They were just a little bit ugly. Just didn't want them anyway. So I created my own and went to an attorney close by here and said, is it possible that I could create my own application of this? He said, absolutely. He said that theory, like the love language theory, is not copyrightable. Application is. So I was making it a game. I was going to make this a game. So I made my own icons and I put it on a cube. So this is what it looks like. Just about a 1 inch by 1 inch cube. We've got two hands touching each other. That represents touch, the language of touch. Two hands together forming a heart, and then like a cartoon conversation fly out from the heart. So that would be the words. Here's an hourglass that the hand is holding. That represents time. This hand is holding a platter representing service. And then the last one is a hand holding a gift for the gifts. 5 love languages, 6 sides of the die. So I created one that I call Surprise Me. It has a hand with a question mark on it. So there's just 2 instructions, Donna. You roll the die every day. That's the love language you practice giving away all day that day. All day. I'm single when I create this, so Dr. Chapman would suggest that you do it only to your significant other. I didn't have a significant other. So I created and just did it for myself. Just did it to everyone I came in contact with. So the mindset change that happened with us, instead of looking at other people saying, what's wrong with you, and being annoyed, I realized that that was the first step of the annoyance, was looking at other people. I'm hardly ever annoyed about myself, Donna. Well, one time I was annoyed and I didn't talk to myself for 3 days. But I'm hardly ever annoyed about myself. It's always other people. So when I stopped being annoyed at other people and focused on loving them, my mindset changed from what's wrong with them to what's right about them. What can I love about them? And I'm so busy watching for what's right about people. Most people are really good, and they might have 10%, maybe 20% bad things that they do, but most people really are really good people. And as I look at that and focus on all the good, I had zero time to look at the bad, look at what they're doing. And it's not my call anyway. How can I make choices for them in their life? How can I do whatever they're doing? It's just not my call. So step out from that, stay in your lane, focus on sending love out without any expectation. While I'm sending it out, Donna, what I'm watching for is when they light up. No longer do you have to pause the relationship, say, excuse me, could you take this survey so I know how to love you?
Right.
Awkward. We're done with awkward, remember? We're not doing that anymore. You're using your observation skills. When they light up, their eyes get big, their posture straightens a little bit. That's what they like. That's either their primary or a secondary love language, but it's what they like because of how they reacted. And it's interesting that people that have long-term taken that survey by Dr. Chapman have told me that she says that she's service, but I vacuum the carpets, I take out the trash, I wash her car, I do all these things. It doesn't light her up. But when I do the words, that lights her up. And it's interesting that I think that the observation method is a whole lot better method for finding out what somebody's love language might be. Watch, just watch, and they'll light up. And so each day it's going to be a little bit different. Over a 30-day period, you will practice giving away all 5 love languages. The best part about that is now you have this peripheral vision. You can see it when it comes your way. No
Hmm.
longer can you only see your primary love language. You say, well, oh, I see they're loving on me. It's not my primary love language, but I can respond appropriately to them. They are loving on me. It breaks down those communication barriers between couples or between anybody in any relationship. It'll break down those communication barriers that they'll be able to respond appropriately now. So that's kind of what the love language cube's all about.
Okay. So when it comes down to love language, do people, I heard you say primary and then the secondary. How many languages do people typically utilize?
For the most part, I've seen people that have kind of 3 major love languages, but it could be all of them. I mean, as I'm using this and giving it away, I'm finding I like it. I like it's like the flavor of the day. What are they sending today? And it's just to be able to recognize it and see that people are loving on you and to be able to respond is a whole new world. It's absolutely a brand new world. It used to be a world of you almost like you had blinders on. You could only see what you liked. Now you got the blinders off. Now you can see what anybody sending anything my way, I can understand when they're loving on me and I can respond appropriately. And most of the time they are loving. I didn't see that before. I did not see it. So now that I recognize it, now in any of the relationships, all of the relationships are a whole lot better because I've got eyes to see now.
To see. So when it comes to your own personal love language, what are some good ways to see which what do you prefer other than a survey?
I think that when you are able to see all of them come your way, able to recognize it, it's a very interesting question, Donna, and thank you for that because I think that's really important. People understand this. When I grew up, if I wasn't being whacked, I didn't think I was being loved. So obviously, when I took the survey of Dr. Chapman, I was physical touch. That's the only way I thought love happened. It was physical touch. But as I'm older, remember that story I told you about writing those emails with that woman? I'm realizing that words are really is what lights me up now. That it's not the physical touch basically is gone. I like physical touch and intimacy, but I think that it just takes a lot of practice of practicing these love languages even to get to that level of love. These are the basics. These are absolutely the basics. And I hope that answered your question about the changing. I think it changes, and I think that people on a day-to-day basis it could change, or it might be a situational thing that it could change that way too. But being practiced with all 5 love languages, I think it's going to broaden your view a little bit of what other people are doing and how it's coming your way. And just you'll be able to respond a whole lot better. You'll make them feel good because they know that now you know they love you because they sent love in a certain way. You know that they you can count on them. People that love you, you can count on them. And I think that's important to have that.
Oh, sorry. When I
That's all
when I look back into certain relationships, sometimes I think that the person didn't love me, but after further research and learning about love languages, I realized that we were just on two different chapters of the love language book. So things that he was doing, I wasn't receiving it as love. That's because we didn't know anything about this, of course, so we couldn't,
right.
try to make things work. So I can see that this helps a lot of relationships.
It will. It really will. I think that when you realize uh, that you want to stay in your lane, and when you're doing that and focusing on how can I love that person, it's all about them. No longer is it about you, because when you love them, you get paid. When you make somebody's day, you get paid. And I like to go back to way back to The Sound of Music. I know it's a very old movie, but in the Sound of Music, Rolf, the young man, is singing to one of Von Trapp's sisters in the upper second floor window, and one of the words that he says is, "Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away." And I think that the more that we give away love, the more capacity we have to hold it. And it's not a scarcity type of item. It's not, I've got to hoard all this. I've got to have all this for self love. Like, I mean, you don't worry about that. Send it out and it'll come back. It'll come back much larger than you send it out. It's just will be multiplied and packed down and compressed and just be a lot better when it comes back. Just keep sending it out and it'll increase your capacity to do that. And I think that that's what the world needs today. Too much rage, too much people, too many people that they're thinking that anger is the right way. Who would ever negotiate with such an angry person? Why would you want to be in a relationship with such an angry person? Choose love. It'll be better, more peaceful relationship for yourself.
Okay. So when you were dealing with your past and the anger you had inside, what were some of the specific things you did to help to change that?
One of the things I did, Donna, was I think there has to be a self-actualization moment, a moment where you figure out, well, where am I at? And I want to illustrate that here with a stick I found in the neighborhood the other day. I was just out walking and found a stick. The stick didn't have any bark on it at all, that you can see right here. But one side of it was just really nice, a great place to put your hand. It's not going to poke you or anything. But the other side had some little pokey areas here, places that there maybe a branch or something that was cut off or something. But I'm going to call this the naughty side of the stick, and this the nice side of the stick. It's kind of like the Santa Claus list, naughty and nice, and so it is. So the anger that I learned early on was on the naughty side of the stick, and I realized that when my sister-in-law had identified that we were an angry family, that I still was there. I was still there and I was blaming my father for all the problems. It's his fault. I mean, he's got to change. And yet he wasn't even around. But when you blame somebody, you don't have to take any responsibility at all. You don't have to change a thing. Nothing. When you take responsibility, you can have a choice. You can become more angry or you can become more loving. Anger has its own vocabulary, its own language, its own humor. All is a culture all by itself. Love is a different culture. It has its own language, it has its own humor, it has its own softness and kindness that goes with love. Two different sides of the stick. When you find out where you're on the spectrum, then it'll help you go. And what was most helpful for me, to answer your question, Donna, was I would look at opposites. Take, for example, envy. If you're envious or you covet something from somebody, you're envious of them, what would be the opposite of that? To me, I would think being generous, having that generosity rather than being envious, or just being grateful would be another opposite of being envious. And you'll find that envy would be on the naughty side of the stick, the side of the stick you don't want to be associated with. You want to be on the nice side of the stick. And so in that spectrum, if you can describe your behavior in a word, find out what the opposite might be, and then determine, is it on the naughty side of the stick or is it on the nice side of the stick? Even if it's on the nice side of the stick, well, maybe you can make that trait 1% better each day, just 1% better. And that's what I would suggest to your listeners, that just try to be 1% nicer each day, 1% kinder. Just do something for people that 1% more than you did the day before.
Okay, so looking at how life has changed since the role of love, how do you think that your younger self, little 10-year-old Paul, would view you now?
It's a great question, Donna. Thank you. I think that the 10-year-old Paul would view this person right now, uh, unbelievable. How did he ever get there? Because it really was a miracle for me. Here I was still having those flash attacks, the anger attacks. Now it's different. Now what's happening? I'm stacking kindness on top of kindness on top of kindness on top of kindness. Where that takes you, Donna, is to the higher laws of love, compassion, charity, mercy, intimacy, forgiveness, sympathy, empathy. All those things are higher laws of love. They will all describe the higher laws of love. But these are just basics. These five languages of love are stair steps to get to those higher laws of love. And we all need to know the basics. It's like go back to elementary school and learn how to love. Get down these basics, and then let's together move to those higher laws. This will bring peace to your family. This will bring peace to your own heart. It's going to reduce anxiety because you don't have to worry about what those other people are doing anymore. All you're worried about is sending love out. How can I send it out today? Whose day can I make better today? If that's all you're worried about, you're going to have a great day. You're worried about making someone else feel better, uplifting someone on that day.
So what happens when you do get upset? Because everyone has to get upset at some point. What happens then?
Well, what happens then is that I remember, try to remember who I am, try to remember what's good about them and what I like about them. I think that the times that people get upset is you're focusing on something negative about another person. Stop it. That's what you really have to do is just stop it. Quit focusing on the negative. I like to show a magnifying glass because it just makes things bigger. If you focus on what's negative about a person, you're going to make it bigger. Why would you want to do that? And secondly, if you're focusing on their negative things, what do you think is going to happen to you? It's coming right back to you. You don't want to throw that boomerang. Just stop it. Just quit that. And so I tell myself to stop it. And I don't have to tell myself very often to do that because I'm to the point that I've rolled the die since 2017. I've had the die to be able to roll it, and I've just keep rolling it every single day. That 2 second investment, Donna, is the very best investment I've ever made. I get a better return off that 2 seconds, a larger return off that 2 second investment than anything else I've ever done in my life.
Yes. And I ask that question because I think about sometimes whatever mood you're in will basically trying to control the rest of your day. So if you're talking about in the morning time and you're going through traffic, and then there's a driver that cuts you off and curses you out or something like that, if you focus on that, 9 times out of 10, the very next thing that happens that's small is going to upset you, and it upsets you, and then it's like a domino effect. It just gets worse. But if you, like you said, you think about it, choose not to focus on the negative. Oh, maybe they were running late. Maybe something is going on in their lives. It's just sometimes we have to train ourselves to look at things differently.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I was this far away from hitting someone today because they didn't see me. It was very obvious they didn't see me. And there's no other excuse. So they just did not see me. If they would have seen me, they would not have done what they did, pull out right in front of me that way. And it was on a very busy street, and I was going, maybe 30, 40 miles an hour. I was at a pretty good clip, but I was able to immediately stop and swerve a little bit. I was swerved into the other lane, and thankfully nobody was there. So I escaped any danger. But it's just the fact that I have blind spots too. I can understand they didn't see me, and I don't blame that person. I didn't shake a fist at them. I mean, there could have been it could have been a lot worse. And,
Right.
and I'm so grateful that I was just had the ability to stop.
Yes, that's so true. And so many times, I mean, you live in a nice place, it's a little more quieter than here, but we've had several instances where road rage turns into, gets violent rather quickly because you never know what the other person is going through. And just like you said, you had a little compassion and understanding. Maybe they didn't see me. Some people don't take it like that, and some people unfortunately have been killed because of road rage.
Yeah. Well, and you take things personally, you're never going to get past that annoyance, and make that flash. You're never going to get past that syndrome. And I'm telling you, that syndrome is rampant right now. It's out there all the time. People get annoyed, but then they might be one annoyance and poof, they're gone. And it could be, but I was much calmer. I would take 4 or 5 annoyances before I'd actually blow. And I thought, well, I'm doing great. I'm doing a lot better than my than my father. And I really wasn't, because I did not identify that I was getting annoyed at somebody else's choice.
Mm,
Somebody else had done something that I made a judgment call, and I'm it's out of my lane.
right,
I shouldn't be doing anything about that. Not get mad, not be judgmental. Focus on who you are. Focus on stay in your lane.
right. And that focus, to go back towards relationships, that helps as well, because you won't take a little miscommunication and take it the wrong way when you're truly in your role of love. I'll use your book title, but when you're truly in love the way you should be, small things shouldn't really upset you. It should probably
They don't. They should. That's right. Exactly. They should not matter.
yes. Okay. Um, I know you have a book and you have some other stuff going on. Would you like to let everyone know about it? That was
Sure.
great.
The Role of Love book is a book about the love languages. It also includes that role of observation and a few other roles of love that I think are very important to being able to modernize this and bring this up to speed for today, the age that we're living in right now, the road rage and whatever. So that's that. The other thing is, there's a journal that a lot of people like to record what they rolled, what opportunities they saw to love it that way, and what they did about those opportunities. When I've journaled in the past, I look at a blank page and my mind goes blank. This is different because it's all about love. And I wish I would have had a love journal from my mother or my grandmother. Instead, Donna, I got a journal about the weather. The weather 60 years ago. Who cares about what the weather was like 60 years ago?
Right.
I would have loved to have something. What did they love? What was there to love in their day? And what did they do about that? Just think back to first grade for yourself. If you were in school and in the classroom, the teacher rolled the die and said, "Class, we're watching for this type of behavior today." And then at the end of the day, last 10 to 15 minutes is non-productive time anyway. The kids are antsy. They know the bell's going to ring. Their minds are mush. Decompress that mind with writing in a journal. What did you do that day that was loving? And what opportunities did you see to love? Write all about it. The teacher can do a check mark, send that home with the kid. The parents that see what's happening will save that page, put all those pages together for a whole year. End of the year, now you've got a journal for that first grader, or a journal for that third grader, or a journal for that fifth grader. Now you've got a love journal. Train these children early to love and take responsibility for their own actions. They don't have to wait like I did to age 35 to be responsible for their actions. They can take it right now. Teach them to take that responsibility by doing the journaling. And then by the time they get to middle school or high school or college or farther in life, they've already been there. They already know what they're supposed to do about loving. You've got to start somewhere. That's a great place to start.
That is. That is. And actually, I'm not sure if people know this, but like with love languages, a lot of people think that love language is just for relationships. It's for all relationships. So it also includes your children. So you can learn more about your family, your children, your workplace, a lot of different things by paying attention to people's love languages.
Absolutely, I love that too. And paying attention is what I call the role of observation. It's a chapter in the book. It's very important. Watch what people are doing. Just use your observation skills. That's going to help your love muscle grow stronger. You're going to be able to watch, how do people love you? What should you be doing to love them? And send it out. Send it out appropriately, and you'll be able to do whatever they need done on that day to make their day.
Okay. All right. And the question that we asked, which is similar to the other one, but it's a little different, is if you could go back and talk to 17-year-old Paul and tell him about some stuff that he was about to experience, what would you tell him?
Well, 17-year-old Paul moved out when he was 17. He moved out of the house. He was getting rid of this abuse. He was just getting out of there. Moved in with his brother at age 17. He left home after his junior year of high school and finished his senior year at on the road. He was already determined to be better. What 17-year-old Paul discovered was that the words that my parents were saying didn't match the actions, and they to that 17-year-old, they needed to reconcile. They needed to have that balance, that the words, you're in lockstep. The words and the actions are matching one another, and he wanted that in his life. And to look at Paul, that 17-year-old, look at Paul now, I think he would say, oh, finally, you're getting closer. You're getting closer. Not quite there yet, but you're getting closer and closer to having words match your actions. What you say is really what you mean. Not the sarcasm that would be on the angry end of the stick, but the more genuine, more authentic, and more true to true principles. That's who Paul is now.
Okay, perfect. I love that. So, pretty much, guys, that is it for today. I want to tell Paul, thank you so much for talking to us about the role of love, talking to us about love languages. This is a fairly new topic to me, so I've been kind of learning all about it, and I do appreciate. I've heard about it, but never, like I guess in theory. So I appreciate you and all of the work that you have done for this because this is awesome. I love this, and I wish more people would like know about it, especially with the kids, because we have to start young. So
Absolutely.
thank you to the listeners. I hope that you are really blessed by what we talked about today, and hopefully that it can help you with whatever going on, especially in your relationships. A lot of people send me messages about relationships, and one of the things that I noticed for my own was that I had to learn love language. So this would be the perfect time. Y'all go pick up Paul's book. Y'all follow Paul. Paul, what's your Instagram or Facebook?
It's all roll of love dice. If they can look at roll of love dice on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, they'll find me, or they can just go to rolloflove.com, and they can buy the book, the die, and the journal are all together on a bundle right now, a special. It's about 20% off for $29.99. They can
Okay.
have that. It's a whole lot less than just one session of therapy, and it's going to last. It'll last a lot longer for you too.
Yes, and it's interactive, so you guys can get that die, and then you all can have like family night, and y'all
Absolutely.
put together. So again, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you to the listeners. Remember to like, comment, share, and actually, I have a question for you all. You write in the comments your love language. If you have two or three, put them all down. I want to see what your languages are. I'm not sure what mine's are yet. I have to think.
Yeah. Well, good. That's a great request. You're the first one to ever do that, Don. I think that's a absolutely perfect request. Since you're talking to families, can I just tell one last story?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I tested this with a family. There are 5 children in the family. Youngest is 4 years old. He's a boy. And one day he rolls the dice and he rolls physical touch. And he's so excited. He's pumping his hands up and down, pumping them up and down, jumping up and down, and just being so excited. Yes, physical touch, physical touch. Immediately he goes and beats up on his brothers. The mother's trying to suppress all the laughter by saying, "No, son, this would be appropriate physical touch. You can do the high five, the fist bumps, the pat on the back, the hugs, the pat on the cheek. You can do those kind of things, and that would be appropriate physical touch." So it became a teaching moment, especially for children. That's what we want. We want to make these teaching moments for children.
I love it. That was cute. All right. Perfect. All right. So again, thank you all for being here. And if the Lord says the same, I'll see y'all next week. Bye bye.
Bye, Donna. Thank you.